Hi everyone, TrainzXtreme here. Now, this is a follow-up video to my previous video about real or fake and these two leader class Optimus Prime figures. Now, I got some interesting comments below, and some of you have been really keen-eyed about some of the differences between the figures, which has surprised me. Some things even I didn't actually notice. But now it's time to drop the bombshell. What would you do if I told you both of these are fake? Because when I say that, I mean it. Both of these models are fake. And I guess you can probably tell that by the price. Now, brand new, I paid for Buster Prime, I think about 90 Australian dollars, and I paid 55 Australian dollars for the Stirker Prime. Not including shipping, of course. Which is significantly less than you would pay for the real McCoy Transformer figures of this variety. I've seen this guy go for up to $350, $400 by himself, brand new. And I've seen this guy, not at all brand new by himself, but the real version comes with the special sword things, kind of like the hooks that I showed in the previous video, and those alone can sell for $150, and they're weapons for one figure. So that gives you an idea about just how rare these two figures were when they came out. Now what's heartbreaking is that this guy here came out in a 2-pack with Jetfire. If you're a fan of the Transformers movies, you'll know he's the guy who combines with Optimus Prime in the second movie. And that was selling for about $99. This character and another character of the same size, which normally in Australia this guy would sell for about probably $120, and they were selling for $100 as a 2-pack, which is really sad. And the worst part is I remember seeing it in shops and not buying it. But anyway, such is life. Now you're probably saying, no, they can't be a fake, but this is indeed a fake. But why I purchased these fakes was because I'd seen other reviews saying that these fakes are just as good as the original. Now, if we take a look, this Prime, I'm yet to find a fault with. I mean, if you look at the chrome, it's kind of hard to pick it up on camera. You can see it's a little bit scratched and a little bit poorly applied, and that was there when I got it out of the box. But I don't know whether that was the fact that the person who sold this to me had to actually open him up and get the batteries out, because they wouldn't come through customs, and in the purpose of doing that, they actually scratched it, or whether it came like that from the factory, I don't know. I have to say, the chrome on his feet, however, which is a really dumb design choice. That's just dust on there. It was actually very flawless, and I haven't found a mistake in the chrome on his feet. So that's why I'm inclined to think that might have happened when they were trying to take the batteries out. Now, in terms of faults, the only fault I can find with this figure, really, is that this hand, and you'll see it on the other figure more so, is not quite together. See, it's got a bit of that crack there, where if we look at the other hand, that crack is much less pronounced because they've been screwed together a lot tight than on this hand. But in any play sense, I've yet to find a detriment to that hand being a little bit loose, and if not, a little bit of glue will fix that. Apart from that, I can't really see anything else that would give away that this is a knockoff, besides the fact that this little bit on the foot here, see how it's painted red? It should be painted silver on the inside of that foot, but it is painted red on the knockoff. I can try and show you it there. A little bit of red plastic showing through. But I mean, apart from that, this feels like a real Transformer toy. It doesn't seem to have creak in funny places. It behaves like one. The joints are all really nice and tight. The plastic feels sturdy and strong. The paint's all really nice. So this is definitely, like, you know, equal to a real deal figure. Although I have to say I haven't transformed him yet just because it's so difficult, and I prefer to display my Transformers in robot mode. This one is a different story, which is why I'm glad I paid less for it. I mean, it's still visually a really nice figure, and I have to give kudos to the designers of the real Hasbro and Takara version, that this is a really nice figure, and I think that although they're the same character, they have really different looks to them. Now, the grey plastic, I'm pretty sure that they also use this. There was two versions of this toy that came out. There was the normal version, which was like this and used the grey plastic, and there was also the version that had the shiny plastic and came with those two swords, which I was telling you about earlier. So I think the colours on this are right, but someone can correct me there because I'm not 100% sure. The first thing I've noticed about this guy is that his shield is very loose in his hand. It doesn't sit very well. Not only does this top part here flop around because the joint is really loose, this handle doesn't really sit very well in his hand, so it has a tendency to fall out. However, if this has been an exact copy, I imagine this would have been the same problem on the real deal. And again, I can't really fault the knockoff for this because I know Hasbro, particularly, is really inconsistent in their toys, and that's something I'm probably going to talk about in another video. That you've got a company like Hasbro, a massive international company, and their quality control is, quite frankly, really, really bad. Because considering how popular their toys are, there's a lot of problems with their toys. So having a loose joint like this wouldn't surprise me if the real thing had this as well. These guns, couldn't find anything wrong with them. The next thing was that this one's hand was really, really far apart. You can see, if I just do that, you probably can't see it on camera. I have actually glued this guy's hand together because it was so loose that he couldn't hold the weapons properly. So that was a fault with him that was there. Beyond that, he's also got the fault here. If we look at the chest, if you're looking at how much they go up, this side lifts up a lot more than this side does, because it's, for some reason, the little joint part here is tighter. So he doesn't quite, see, you can see that they don't quite sit evenly unless you come back and manually manipulate them to sit like that. However, again, I have to say that because of my really disappointing experience with Hasbro, I wouldn't be surprised if the real versions actually had that same issue there as well. The biggest issue with this figure is this part here. So I tried to transform him, and I read on another forum, oh, there's a problem with his arm. And I was like, I can't see any problems with his arm. But to transform him, this panel needs to slide forward. But unfortunately on the KO, when you slide it forward, I'm just trying to show you what that happens. As you can see, the pin doesn't actually slide forward. The plastic on the pin slides forward. So that means that this guy doesn't actually transform properly, unfortunately, because this pin doesn't go all the way through like it should. I've seen other people saying you can fix it with a hot soldering iron and it'll just melt the plastic and allow it to slide through. But because I don't really transform these figures because they take too long and they look much cooler in robot mode, I'm just going to leave it the way it is, because if you just slide that back on there, it'll sit back there with the friction and no one's any the wiser. But this guy definitely feels a lot more like a knockoff when you look at these kind of like little faults that he has. Now, the reason I didn't show you the boxes was because the boxes were really, really bad. And that's the one thing that the knockoffs for these guys haven't got right yet. The artwork was correct. It was correct. It actually looked very much like real artwork. But on both of them, this one, for example, the box was slashed and cut. Like one of the reasons I didn't keep it was it had cuts all over the back, and I could see where they'd opened it up to take out the batteries. But the box already had been cut as if in the factory, like, you know, been with multiple knives had slashed through the back of the packaging. So that was really like unattractive look. And then both of these guys in the packaging were really loose. Like, for example, his gun was in pieces on the bottom of the packaging, so it had fallen out of the plastic thing. These guns were mixed through the packaging. This was not properly tied to his arm. So, like, the packaging was poor. But in saying that, all of them, both of them rather, still had, you know, the little plastic cable ties that you find on these kind of toys, holding them into the packet, and they were really, really tough to get undone. So, again, like, I'm not sure whether that was just in the process of them taking out the batteries for me so they could send it from China, that they accidentally knocked around some of the parts on the inside, or whether from the factory it's like that. So then, we come to the real question here, and I guess what we have to think about is, these knockoffs, like, are really good. If, apart from the little things I've pointed out, if someone just gave me one of these figures, loose, at, like, you know, a convention, or one of my friends said, oh, I've got this figure, I would never know that it was a knockoff. That's how good they are. And so, I have to say, like, although these toys clearly aren't aimed at children, if they're this good, for a collector, does it matter if they're fake? I mean, you know, the really tight collectors would go, oh, I never buy fake Transformers, rah, rah, rah. But for someone like me who just wanted, like, these figures because I think they look awesome, does it really matter if they're fakes? Because they're just that good. And then, does it matter if they're fakes because, you know, I can't buy the original anymore, so it's not like Hasbro is losing any money here because I can't go out to the shop and buy the original version, which I'll be quite happy to do, even if it was at a premium price. But because I can't do that, Hasbro's not really losing any money. So does it make it not such a sin to purchase these knockoff toys? Because I have to say, like, I'll put the proper in-depth reviews of these figures in the description. I think Ben's Collectibles did a really good review of these guys. But for me, I would have to recommend these guys if you wanted these equivalent kind of figures. They're kind of hard to find. The eBay seller I got it from was really helpful, really, really friendly. But I'm not sure what eBay is doing, whether something happened with him or something happened with eBay. Because it actually freaked me out a little bit. after I bought this, it was in shipping. It'd been shipping for about a week, but for some reason it hadn't left China. It'd just been sitting at customs in China. So I was freaking out, and I tried to send an email to the person, only to find their account had been suspended. So I'm not sure whether that's because someone reported them for selling knockoff items, or whether that was just another issue entirely just because they left eBay. I don't know. So they are available on eBay. There's a couple of different sellers. You're looking for them in China, because that's where they come from, naturally. But I wouldn't recommend paying over $100 for them, to be honest, because they are fakes. But as I said, that being said, they're very good fakes. And as I said, if you could fix that arm, which some people know how to do, I'm not very good with soldering irons, or very coordinated, so I just leave that to the professionals. But if you did that, you know, that would be a near perfect figure for a collector. So let me know what you think. If a knockoff is so good and you can't get the original anymore, is it bad, or is it not so bad to buy the knockoff version? I mean, because as I said, I never would have collected these figures, and I'm planning to get the knockoff version of the... There's a black version of Optimus Prime, he's like black and gold, and I'm planning to get the knockoff version of that as well, because the real thing is just so expensive. As I said, the cheapest I find this guy is in that 2-pack which I was describing, was $350, plus postage, for 2 figures, whereas I paid $220 for both of these guys, including the postage. So, it all depends what you're into. Anyway, that's my little entry into the Transformers world. Let me know again if you like this kind of video. Let me know if you've got either of these figures, and whether you can tell a difference between the reals and the fakes, or whether you own any fake Transformers stuff. And then, yeah, let me know whether you think that it matters if they're fake. Because I would honestly say that in this situation, I'm quite happy to buy the fakes. Even though before I would swear that I would never ever buy fakes. But there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching this kind of different video. If you want to subscribe to see more, and don't forget to check out my book, Stories of Earth World War III, just to support me doing more cool stuff on my channel. But anyway, most importantly, that's all we've got time for from TrainzXtreme.